Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another deep dive on The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are looking at something that is just completely wild. We're going to unpack the extreme 7-day Arctic survival challenge undertaken by Jimmy, better known as Mr. Beast, and his team. This wasn't just some casual weekend camping trip. It was a grueling, freezing battle against Mother Nature in literally one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. And as always, we're going to break down exactly what happened.
I mean, seriously, how do you survive 7 days in the Arctic without even a tent? It sounds pretty much impossible, right? The team walked into this frozen wasteland without the most basic form of modern shelter. So today, we are going to scientifically break down their chaotic, freezing journey into a structured survival guide. We'll look at the data, the decisions, and the sheer human willpower it took to actually pull this off. Okay, so let's dive right into this. Here is our blueprint for today. First, the rules of the Arctic. 2, Priority 1, snow shelter. 3, battling frostbite and fire. 4, the desperate hunt for food. And 5, the ultimate mental test. Starting off with Section 1, the rules of the Arctic and surviving the extremes. Before you can even think about thriving out there, you really have to understand the baseline rules of the environment. And for the crew, those rules were brutally simple. They were stranded with only what was currently on their backs. No backup shelters, no massive supply drops, nothing. But what's really interesting here is the psychological game built into their challenge. Get this, a rescue plane actually flew over their camp once every single day. So the crew faced this high-stakes daily choice. Option A, endure the freezing, miserable Arctic conditions, or Option B, shoot a flare gun to instantly go home to safety, but with a major catch. Surrendering meant they had to shave their heads right then and there. It's just a brilliant illustration of how pride and the fear of failure can keep people enduring unimaginable physical discomfort. Moving right along to Section 2. Priority 1, the snow shelter, and defending against the elements. Out there in the snow, your immediate threat actually isn't starvation. It's the environment itself. When the sun sets, temperatures just plummet below zero. It gets so unbelievably cold that exposing yourself to the Arctic wind for just 10 minutes could literally cause a limb to freeze solid. So their shelter had to evolve brilliantly out of sheer necessity. Step 1 on the very first day was basically panic mode. They just dug a tiny, cramped cave. Step 2, they packed in like sardines just to share body heat. I mean, it was a miserable sleep. They couldn't even extend their legs, and it was so cold their camera gear almost froze completely. But, to survive 7 days, they had to adopt. By Step 3, they spent hours physically carving out the walls, expanding the space so no one would bump into each other. And finally, Step 4 was a massive morale boost. They added cut spruce branches to the floor, which created a crucial layer of insulation between their bodies and that freezing ground. All right, Section 3. Battling frostbite and fire, and the physiology of cold. So once you actually have a roof over your head, you have to deal with the terrifying physiological effects of sub-zero temperatures. When you're wearing clothes soaked through with melted snow, having that water freeze next to your body can literally be a death sentence. By day 2, the team faced a really scary medical emergency, frostnip. If you don't know, this is an early stage of frostbite where the skin on your toes or fingers turns completely white and loses all feeling. If you don't apply immediate body heat to warm the area up, it progresses to full-blown frostbite, and that can lead to permanent tissue loss or even amputation. Just to ground that in reality and show how fast things escalated, listen to this quote. "My big toe is never that flat on the top. Chandler's got white toes." Chandler's feet were absolutely freezing, completely white, zero color, and they were even starting to turn purple. To save his toes, they had to use a raw, instinctual survival tactic. Their cameraman, Darius, literally stuck Chandler's freezing foot directly into his own bare armpit, just to transfer enough body heat to reverse the frostnip. Crazy, right? And this brilliantly illustrates the life or death struggle of just getting a fire going out there, because a massive blizzard hit, burying their camp and soaking all their firewood. And remember, wet wood plus wet clothes equals an immediate hypothermia threat. But their solution was honestly pretty ingenious. They hunted down a standing dead tree. Now, the outside was totally soaked, but they used brute force to crack the trunk wide open like a puzzle, exposing the completely dry wood on the inside. By shaving that dry interior down into tinder and using feathers to catch a spark, they miraculously built a fire that saved them from freezing. Which brings us to Section 4, the desperate hunt for food and the calorie deficit. Okay, so the team only packed about 3 to 4 days worth of food for a 7-day challenge. In the Arctic, you really have to adopt the mindset that eating is heating. If you don't consume calories, your body just cannot generate heat and you will succumb to the cold. To try and secure those vital calories, they brought some pretty unconventional survival gear. The Mr. Beast Jack Link's beef sticks, packing 6 grams of protein, were quite literally their final energy boost on day 5 before they totally ran out of packed food. To hunt, they brought a heavy manual ice auger. To scout, they used a camera drone. And to traverse that massive snowy landscape, they packed cross-country skis and snowshoes to increase their surface area on the deep powder.
Their food crisis escalated so fast over 3 agonizing days. On day 3, they tried to ice fish right at camp, but after drilling down an exhausting 2.5 feet, the auger just bottomed out before hitting any water. Total failure. On day 4, they sent up the drone and spotted a distant river, theorizing that moving water would probably mean thinner ice. Which led to day 5, a brutal, exhausting trek through the thick woods, stepping right past these massive, intimidating moose tracks, all just to reach the river. And the ultimate payoff for all that effort? 2. That is the exact number of fish they miraculously caught. After sitting on a frozen river in the absolute middle of a blizzard for 7 grueling hours, battling extreme fatigue and cold, they finally broke through ice that was only 8 inches thick. Jimmy caught the very first fish in the most chaotic way you can imagine, by plunging his bare hand into the freezing water to grab it before it slipped away. And that catch gave them the calories they desperately needed to survive the rest of the week.
Finally, Section 5, the ultimate mental test, and hitting the breaking point. You know, it's a fundamental truth of survival that extreme physical suffering inevitably triggers a massive mental toll. Your body shuts down, sure, but your mind is what truly pushes you to the absolute edge. To understand this mental load, look at this surprising and honestly kind of hilarious logistical failure. How are we pooping? We're not. Yep, someone forgot to pack the designated poop tent. And in the Arctic, you can't just go to the bathroom near camp because the scent literally attracts polar bears. They were constantly seeing animal tracks, but never the animals themselves, which created this incredibly creepy, paranoid feeling of always being watched. Logistical screw-ups like that just added immense chaos and raw fear to an already fragile mental state. But what actually keeps a person going when their shoes are filled with freezing snow, their head is pounding from dehydration, and a rescue plane is just a flare gun away? Take a look at this quote from Jimmy. "I don't want to fail another video, so we're going to go get a fish." You see, the team had actually failed a previous survival challenge, and that lingering sting of defeat became Jimmy's absolute mental anchor. His refusal to fail again is exactly what gave him the mental fortitude to sit in a literal blizzard until he pulled that fish out of the ice.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Just imagine yourself freezing in that cramped snow cave. Your toes are totally numb, you're completely out of food, and you hear the hum of that daily rescue plane flying right overhead. Could you resist shooting the flare, knowing that warmth and safety are completely guaranteed and the only cost is your hair and your pride? It's a really fascinating question about human endurance. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, Focus Learners. Stay curious, stay structured, and I will catch you in the next one.